personally, I don't think the perfect relationship exists because perfection is a judgment. But you two are the closest I've found. So here we are.
He asked me, he says, how come you said yes to me when we don't even know each other? And I told him, I didn't say yes. My father said, God, get engaged. If you like him, you get married to him. If you don't, then we can break off the engagement.
You need to have that honoring of each other and that trust. Absolutely. So that if you both choose to be monogamous, you both choose to be monogamous. If you choose to do something different, then don't hide it or lie about it. Talk about it and let the other person know. And is that okay? And I see people all the time go, oh, we're in an open relationship. And you can feel this like clunk because one person's okay with it and the other's not, but they're pretending they are.
Welcome to the Choice, Change and Action podcast, where you get to choose, change and take action to create a different today and a different future.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Choice, Change and Action. So you are with me, your host, and I'm actually in the middle of Australia at the moment. I'm at a place called Uluru, where it's actually the town is Ulara, and the big red rock called Ayers Rock to a lot of tourists, but its traditional name is Uluru, and that's where I am at the moment. And it's just been absolutely amazing being here. I love being in a desert. It's just such a really peaceful, dynamic, intense energy. All of that in one is how I would describe it. So anyway, and we have a class next year with myself, Gary and Dane, called Being the Source, that is in end of March. And that's why I'm here taking one for the team, Dios mío, for checking things out and the site inspection and things like that with the lovely Sarah Watt. And I have, as my guest today, I have the lovely, amazing Kiran and Rattan. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Now, where are you guys? Are you guys at home at the moment?
Yeah, we are at home.
Yes.
In
okay,
Chandigarh.
and tell us, you're in India. Whereabouts do you live in India?
We live in a place called Chandigarh, north of Delhi, about 250 miles north of Delhi.
It's at the foothills of the Himalayas.
Yeah.
It's just about
Yes.
half an hour's flight from Delhi to Chandigarh.
Very close.
Wow. So do you
And
get to see the Himalayas?
Yes.
Yeah, we see them on a clear day. When
On
there's
a
no
clear-
Yeah, on a clear day. I remember I used to, when I did business in India and Nepal, and I'd fly into Nepal and to Kathmandu, and some months, nothing. But, you know, I think 3 times a year you flew in and you were like, wow. It's like seeing the Himalayas, absolutely incredible. It's definitely a site like Uluru here and something like the Himalayas. I think for me personally, I love exploring and seeing places like this on the earth because we have such a magnificent earth and there is so much to receive and so much to explore. So I love that you live there. I didn't know that. So it's not funny. I've known you for this many years and I just knew you lived in India. I had a feeling it was close to Delhi, but I didn't know where. So there you go.
This is the only planned city in India, and it is very green. There are trees on either sides of the roads. It's really beautiful, and you must visit Chandigarh next trip.
Chandigarh.
Yes.
Okay, cool, awesome. Okay, well, I do have a little bit of an idea of when I might desire to go, so I'll let you guys know, because the one thing I know about India is when you're planning to go there, I'm always like, okay, are there any holidays? I would some days. I remember the ones I remember the most was there was a kite flying day, like everyone was flying their kite, and then there was one, and I don't know, I think it was the water festival, and there's just water everywhere. Like literally trucks of like just water going everywhere. So they're the two that were incredible for me. So
we have more festivals in India than days in a year.
Yes, you do. You literally do. Yeah. So it's always like, I'd like to go here. Oh, but are there any festivals? Because you in India too, you do know how to celebrate.
Yes.
So
That's true.
it's not as though people would go, oh, but it's this, but we won't do that. No, you get involved in the celebration of everything. So I love that about the Indians. It's phenomenal. I think the world should take something from that.
Thank you.
So today I wanted to talk to you guys about relationships. And we have relationships done different. We have relationships done different facilitators all over the world with Access Consciousness. And the whole, like the name of the class that we do, like one of the classes that we do is relationships done different. And the whole idea is what if there was a different possibility instead of doing what you think you should be doing, or what you saw your parents choose, etc. Like I was just talking to Sarah Watt this morning, and the different lives that we led as we grew up, and what that was like, but how it did affect us growing up, until we sort of went, you know what, hang on a second, I don't have to buy that as my reality. I get to choose something different, which is all part of Access Consciousness. Is it's not about avoiding, it's not about fighting, it's not about going against. It's about empowering you to know that you know, and being you, basically, is what Access Consciousness is about in every single area. And relationships is a tough one. I think every culture and every country goes, oh, in my country, in my culture, it's this. And everywhere in the world is trying to create this like perfect relationship. And personally, I don't think the perfect relationship exists, because perfection is a judgment. But you two are the closest I've found. So here we are. So I want to ask you some logistical questions first. And one is, how long have you been together for?
10 years?
We've been married. We've been married for 50 years, but I was engaged for 3 years to Adi. So 53 years we've known each other.
Okay. And I want to ask, because I actually don't know. It's like, and I know in your culture, there's a lot of arranged marriages. Was your marriage arranged, or was it a chosen marriage, or I'm not sure what you call that?
The engagement was arranged.
And a choice. We were both asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was given the option by my parents that in case, because I told them, they said, you be with him for 3 years, get engaged, get married, because I got engaged to him after school.
Right.
So I did my college of 3 years, and they said, after 3 years, you get married. So by that time, you'll get to know him. So my only question was, what if we don't get along? At times, two wonderful people don't get along.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a reason not to get along. At times, you just don't get along. So my father promised me, I will ask you no questions. I said, no, you'll say the society, my people, our culture. He said, I'll say nothing till you get married. After that, you got to work to make it successful.
But that was also quite an unusual thing, because
Yeah.
normally parents are not so liberal.
And
They
I,
say once you're engaged and you have to get married. But her father gave her the choice that if you don't like each other, we can cancel the wedding.
Cancel the wedding. And were you aware of this, RD, at the time, that you were like pretty
No.
much 3 years on trial?
No, she told me later on when we got engaged.
the
Before.
day we got engaged, the day when I met RD after our engagement and we had this thing, he asked me, he said, how come you said yes to me when we don't even know each other? And I told him, I said, I didn't say yes. My father said, God, get engaged. If you like him, you get married to him. If you don't, then we can break off the engagement.
So that was quite a surprise
So
to me.
he was quite shocked because he hadn't heard of it. And I said it in pure innocence, Simone. I was just 16 years old. I didn't know whether I should
Say it or not.
say it to him or not.
So that's what I like. That's what I like about Kiran, is that from the very first day we met, her innocence carries on throughout.
Not
The
now.
innocent way in which she does everything is so beautiful.
I love it. Not now. She's like, I'm not so innocent now.
Not at all. He spoiled me.
I love it. So then let me ask you, what is, Kiran, let me ask you, and it's like, what is innocence to you, and how do you see that has changed?
Innocence for me was no filters, Simone. I didn't know what to say when, whether it's a good thing or not a good thing. I don't know. Like my father, I don't think I could have ever spoken to him the way I did when he asked me about Artie.
Yeah.
He said it's a known family, and they've asked for you, and would you like to? I said I don't even know him. I don't even know what he looks like, though I'd seen him.
Approximately.
So that is how he said, "Okay, I understand, but if you still, I mean, they're insisting, so you can get engaged." And
yeah. And so when you say you're not so innocent now, how do you see that that's changed? What would you have changed?
I like now, I think more than him, it's the tools of access that have made me very smart. Let me put it that way.
Okay, so now you're willing to manipulate.
Yes. And another thing, Simone, I just want to tell you that even when I got married to RD and before we got to know about access and the tools, I was, I used to, like you said, we grew up seeing our parents and what is required by this reality. So it was like fitting in the box. I made myself very comfortable in the box because I chose to be happy. And I wanted to, for me, it was seeing him happy and me happy.
I lent her a few cushions to make her comfortable.
So so for me, it was like when we were engaged for 3 years, I got to know RD and I learned a lot from RD. I mean, I was not very well, I didn't know much about sex and all because in India, in school, they don't tell you anything about it. I learned everything from him. And for me, everything was beautiful. It was not like some people say, oh, this, that, have to or don't have to, whatever it is. So for me, I grew with him. And when we were getting married, I thought, what more after marriage? I love him so much. How much more can I love him? And today, when I think back, it was not the hundredth of what it grows into.
Yeah.
So that way I went not so innocent, Now I experienced that, what we call love.
So what do you love so much about RD?
I love him as a being. And that doesn't mean that we don't have ups and downs. We do have a disagreements, and I do. And that is why, whenever people ask for talks about relationship, they want, like you said, a perfect relationship. And that is such a limiting thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if like I said, access gave us the tools of being an allowance of each other and of no judgment. I, in my world, had respect and value for him. And even today, I feel the first thing in any relationship or partnership or creationship is respect for each other and honesty. Like you said, we're all human beings.
Yeah.
We come across so much in life.
Yeah. So, RD, when you were first engaged in these 3 years and you learnt that you were basically on trial, what was your point of view about Kiran? And I mean, you were going into this as though you were going to get married. What was your awareness with all of this?
I would say, I don't know, fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't have a very intimate interaction with girls or women before I got married to Kiran. I was in a boarding school, and then later on I joined the army, and you don't get to meet many girls. So she was perhaps the first person I got intimate with and became friends with. So it was a great experience for me. And what I liked about her was her playfulness and her childlike approach to life and her honesty. And I would like to say that even till today, I don't think I found a more honest person than her.
Wow.
So it was a great experience getting to know her, and I was looking forward to getting married. Yes.
So it's been 50 years. So I'm going to ask, you've mentioned this to Kiran as well, but it's like, what is the most important aspect you see about being in a relationship that you would like everybody to know about? What do you see as it makes a great relationship last for 50 years?
Yeah, I would have a couple of points. First one is that What happens in most relationships in this reality, people get into a relationship and then they want things to go their way. They want to control things. Everyone wants the other person to do things their way. And what I would like to just mention to people is that getting it done your way is not the best thing to do. Let people, you see, because she came from a different background, I came from a different background. So she did things differently, I did things differently. And what I realized that moment to stop making them wrong for the way they're doing it, and it's just a different way of doing it, and you allow them to do it that way, it's fine,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing I find is that you need to, in a relationship, uh, value the skills, abilities, and capabilities and capacity that the other person has. Acknowledge them and allow them to use them to contribute to our lives. So there are certain things in which Kiran is much better than me, besides cooking. She's very good. She's very good in going into details and into making contracts and to know what to do, what not to do things, which I'm not good at. I accept it. So I let her do that, and I'm quite happy she's doing it. So that way, I find that if you just allow the other person to grow and to experience the skills, knowledge, and capabilities and
Mhm.
capacity that that person has to contribute to our life together. There's nothing better than that. So,
What about you, Kiran?
Uh, for me, it is basically, like I said, respect for each other, for the being. And
So
and what I got from Access was allowing the person to be them, so that I could be me.
that
And
is
there are
that piece is gold. And I don't think people get that. They think that if they allow the other person to be them, that means they're going to have to comply. But it's not true. And I love the way you just said that. You are in allowance of the other person to be everything that they can be, and then you get to be everything that you be. Love it.
that is what happens is, like you said, Simone, people ask in a relationship, but I want to be me. So when I come first, then things don't work out.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like, I personally, that's my, and I'm so grateful to the tools of Access, so grateful to Gary and Dane for bringing this to, like I said, I was so happy in that box, and suddenly I realized, oh my god, my world is outside. I can
Yeah.
be me.
So when
And
did sorry, go
yeah,
on. No, you go on.
just this of I can be me, there was
Mm.
so much more in our relationship. Gary once asked me what has changed, and the one thing that changed in our relationship was when we dropped labels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I stopped calling him my husband, my partner, my friend, nothing. He was who he is, and that gave so much of expansiveness in my world.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So, because most people do that. I mean, even my last long-term relationship, we actually used to every now and then say husband and wife because we thought it made it easier when talking to people
The
and,
people.
yeah, your partner, your everything. I know that Access, one of the tools is talking about this is my lover, which I personally love that, saying this is my lover because then it gives them, this is your job, you know that, right? You're my lover. I like that
Yes.
personally. But so now it's like, if you don't have this is my husband, this is my wife, my partner, etc. I know it sounds really funny, but do you literally just call each other by your names?
Yes.
And what did you notice changed for both of you with that one tool? And it's so simple.
For me, what changed was the barriers, around
Mm-hmm.
all the rules and regulations of being a wife or a husband, all
Yep.
that. And here I'd just like to share that in one of the CF classes, Gary had mentioned about women being controlling.
Yes.
And I was so upset with that. Like he said in India, women are very controlling. And I was so upset. And I went up to him and I asked him, Gary, why did you say that? And what came to me, Simone, was because I was upset. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
And just when I let it go, and that's the time when I said no labels, no nothing, then there's no expectation. That doesn't mean that I am all good and everything. No, Simon, I still want Adi to spend time with me, quality time with me. And I do, get upset for whatever. I'm just saying that it's a normal life. However, it has helped us to see better. There's no mist, there's no fog around,
Yeah. So what is one of the things that, I mean, you just said that you ask RD to spend some quality time with you. So that's a request that you have of him. And
Yes.
what is quality time with you? What does that mean to you?
Is that if we can just be together, we do our things what we have to, be together, but be present with each other.
Watch movies together, hold each other's hand.
And be present, because most of the times we may be sitting together, but I may be on my phone or he may be on his phone. That's not quality time for me.
Yeah.
Even for me,
Yeah.
So that is the only thing I feel that one should. And for me, to be very honest with you, is a breaking point in a relationship is when there is cheating. That is dishonest. That's why I feel honesty is the best thing. There may be times when a person has slipped or whatever, but still you can talk about it. If you value your partner or your person, whoever is with you, and if you have respect for that partner, you will not dishonor the partner by cheating.
And what is cheating to you?
Cheating is doing something which
you want to hide from your partner.
Yeah. I agree. I'm so like I like being me, and whoever I am, playing with, etc. It's like I really do value that honesty, and you get to do you and you get to be you. But the lies is something that I don't think are necessary between people. And for me, that's what cheating is the lies. And it's like, if you need to tell a lie, then what's going on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Kiran in Access used to get very upset because we have a statement that
just for fun, not to tell anyone.
Not to tell anyone. She said, "This is not right."
No, I get it where it comes from, Simone. But you know what happens? A lot of young people
use it as an excuse.
Have relationships out of marriage and use this. My body wants it. Did you ask your body? Okay, if your body wants a relationship, you can talk to your partner about it.
Yeah.
I totally agree. If you're hiding it, then it's a lie. It's cheating.
I think also so let's talk about, because that tool of just for me, just for fun, don't tell anyone. It's funny that we talk about it with sex and copulation, because it's also for everything. It's because I notice it's, I don't know, it could be anything. Like say I'm hiking here at Uluru, and the energy and everything that I am being downloaded by the earth and all of that, I can try and relay that. And then you notice that sometimes it just falls on blank ears, as they say. And so what if it is, and as soon as I go, just for me, just for fun, don't tell anyone, it's not like keeping a secret or a lie. It's, I get to receive this and I don't need to define it and I don't need to explain anything. So that's that tool in Access Consciousness of just for me, just for fun, don't tell anyone. And women in particular, and I can say this because I'm a woman and I know I've been there, is we try and share everything. And it's like, what if we didn't have to share everything? What if we received everything and we knew when somebody could hear what it is that we desire to, talk about or explore, and I look, I'm a big believer with relationships. I think you need to be very, you need to have that honoring of each other and that trust, so that if you both choose to be monogamous, you both choose to be monogamous. If you choose to do something different, then don't hide it or lie about it. Talk about it and let the other person know. And is that okay? And I see people all the time go, oh, we're in an open relationship. And you can feel this like clunk, because one person's okay with it and the other's not, but they're pretending they are. And it's like, you can't, don't give up on you. Like the one thing, Kiran, that you've been talking about now is about how, you desire to be all of you. So you also allow, you're okay, RD, everything that you choose, you're in allowance of everything he chooses. So he gets to be all of him. So you have all of you. And I think that's relationships done different for me as well, is being true to you, but not also, don't make yourself less than for anyone, ever, ever, ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I so love it. Yes.
Yeah, and when you said about just for me, just for fun, don't tell anyone. I've taken it to an extent where I don't feel like even talking about what we are doing to
Yeah.
anyone, because most of the people, you just want to talk to other people to impress them, or to make them feel that you can do this. And therefore I've stopped interacting too much on the social media and all, because everyone who puts up a post on social media has a sort of an agenda which he wants to follow. And I said, it doesn't matter. I don't talk about nonsensical things. It's no interest for me. Even even political things, I'm pretty cut off of all of that.
Mm.
So to that extent, I really don't share with people what others, because most of the time when you try to tell them something, they're not interested. Most people are only interested in what they are doing. They're not
Yeah.
interested in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So why waste
And
why waste energy on that?
it's funny because I mean, I've known you guys for quite some time now, and yet we don't talk all the time. Like before we hit record here for this podcast, we were saying, it's been some time since we've seen each other, and I said, yeah, but it always has that sense that we're connected. And then when I do see you, Adi, you will always go down as one of the best huggers in the entirety of the world. And for me, it's like, I mean, I could meet up with you and I could start asking you all of these questions, or you could start telling me stuff. But for me, one of the most beautiful things in the world is we get to hug. And that energy that is engaged is just like, that's a bigger download of more, like actualizing more on this planet than words will ever be. And I don't think people look at the energetics in relationships, because you and I have a relationship, me and Kiran, all that sort of thing. We don't value that. We value the proving and the sharing and all of that. And what if relationships done different? We could start to look at that in a different way and acknowledge something, Yeah. So yes. So I want to ask you guys a couple of questions about and to give tools to people too. So I'm about to do a relationships on different class in Abu Dhabi in the Middle East, right, in December. It's just before Christmas time, so if anyone wants to come, you can. It's live and online too. And it's really interesting for me is one of the things that they keep saying is, we just want to know how to get the perfect man. And I'm like, oh my goodness. What am I doing? Because for me, relationships done different is so much bigger and so much greater. And I get that piece that people are looking for something, right? But Kiran, I want to ask you this question, okay? What do you say to that when people are like, I'd like to get the perfect man? I mean, as I said before, I don't think perfect exists, because perfect is based on a judgment, and you have to be willing to perceive the truths and the lies and everything about somebody. But what would you say to someone who's actually out there looking for the perfect man?
I personally feel if somebody has that feeling of a perfect man, they are so limiting themselves. Because if you want a perfect man, you have to be perfect yourself. And what does perfect mean to you? It's such a big judgment.
Yeah.
I mean, what is good for you may not be good for me. I can give you suggest a person who is a wonderful being, everything that you want, but he's not perfect for the other person.
So you said something here about like to look at yourself.
Yes.
What else could you say on that? Could you expand on that about looking at yourself?
Looking at oneself, that you love everything. You love the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we have that in us. If anybody says we don't, I don't believe that. Because if you don't have the good and the bad and the ugly, you can't be good. So you have the good, the bad, and the ugly in you, and the other person. I mean,
Also,
you're not willing to receive the other person the way the other person fully. You want only a limited part of that person. So imagine a relationship where you only have a little part of the person, because you don't want to see, like you said, You don't want to see the other part.
Yep. I like that. I like that because if you started to explore perfect relationship, like there was a movie, George Clooney, called Up in the Air many years ago, and there's this young girl in there, and she's talking about who she wants to be in a relationship with, and she's like, I want him to be this tall, blonde hair, this car, this education, da da da, and she's like naming all these things. And then there's a woman who is, I think she was like mid-40s or something, and she goes, by the time you get to my age, you just hope he makes you laugh and has a full head of hair. Like, I don't actually agree with the full head of hair, but I do like the makes you laugh, and you look at that, and I love the way you address that, because if you are looking for something like a perfect relationship, then you've got, okay, he has XYZ, and that's all you're willing to receive and all you're willing to see about this person, rather than every aspect of that being that you can receive, so that you can receive all of it. I like that. Yeah. But it also has to have a trust in yourself.
Yes.
That, have you ever wanted to have all the Access classes in the same place? Or you're new to Access and would like to discover more? Check out the app at access.me. There's a class for any topic, and you literally have access to over 25 years of classes of change, choice, and possibility. Okay, so Adi, I want to ask you too. It's like, because there's this fallacy, I think, out there that women are the ones who are always looking for a relationship and etc. But men are too. And I see a lot of men, I've spoken to some men recently too, who, I don't know, I think nowadays the culture is so different that you do have, shorter relationships, or it's not looked at as we get engaged and then we get married, etc. Like years ago when I was hiking in Nepal, it was so sweet. The Sherpa that we had, he said to me, we would stop for tea somewhere, and he said, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. And he said, what do you do when your heart breaks? And I went, what? And I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, when your heart breaks, he said, what is that like for you? And I was like, why is my heart breaking? And he said, well, don't you have boyfriends, and then you break up with them, and then you get another boyfriend, so you have your heart breaks, right? When you are not with this boy. And I was like, wow. And that was the first download I ever got for quote unquote arranged marriages, and the beauty of that, and the way he was seeing it, rather than, he goes, I wouldn't want my heart to break. And I was like, wow, and recently, like I said, I've spoken to a few different men who are actually interested in having a relationship, and yet it doesn't seem to be that available in the world, now. So what would you suggest, RD, and also for the men out there who are desirous of creating a relationship?
See, as far as I'm concerned, my suggestion to people who want to get married, especially men, is that if you are getting married, to not be alone, to have someone to be with, and if that is the reason, don't get married. You should get married when you find that getting married to another person, you can contribute to creating that other person's life greater than what that person can be by themselves, and that person can contribute to your life and making your life greater than what you can do by yourself. Then it is the value of the relationship. And I keep telling people that don't get into a relationship just because people want you to get into a relationship, or you have to do it, or you are lonely. No, please get into a relationship where you can contribute to each other's lives and make each other's lives better. Then everything else works out. Nothing else matters then, because you are not trying to control the other person. You're trying to see what can I do to make that other person's life better, and that person is trying to contribute to you and try to make your life better than what you could do by yourself. That, I think, is the purpose of getting into a relationship. Otherwise, have fun. You can have sex, you can do anything else, but you don't have to get married. And I keep telling people, please don't get married just because you want to have sex. Please get married if it's something where you're going to, contribute to create something greater in life. If it is not, then don't. That's what I feel.
So how important is it to have the relationship with yourself?
Very important. Very
Very
important.
important.
That's the whole point. If I have a happy relationship with myself, and if I'm happy being alone, and I tell people, I said, if you can spend one full day with yourself without any television or book or anything, and just be alone with your thoughts and what's going on in your mind, and you're happy being that, then only can you expect someone else to be happy with you. If you are not comfortable being with yourself, how can you expect anyone to be comfortable with you? So
Oh, I
you
love
you have, yeah, you have to, really love yourself and be happy to be alone with yourself and by yourself, and then yes, it works out. But you have to value yourself, absolutely.
Kiran, did you want to add to that? That
Yeah, I
sensitivity.
just want to say, when we get into a relationship because of a need,
Mm.
then it's a dead relationship. Once the need is fulfilled, then where do you go? What are you looking for? A
Yeah.
needy relationship is always and nowadays when you see people as they're growing older, they say that, "Oh, I want to get married. I'm sick and tired of being alone." Like Adi said, if you can't be alone with yourself, how
Yeah.
can you add value to the other person?
Yeah.
The other person is going to be sick and tired of having you around.
Yeah. It's funny as you guys both mentioned this, it's like I love being on my own. Like I love it. And even like when I was much younger, I would go to the movies on my own. I'm not afraid to go to a restaurant on my own. Like I would do lots of things like that on my own, to the point where my friends would be like, why are you doing this on your own? I was like, why wouldn't I? Like I love my own company. But there might be a flip side, is that I'm like, do I actually desire to have my alone time with somebody else? So, but I love your concept of what you're talking about. I mean, for me personally, like I have a lover at the moment who I thoroughly enjoy his company, and yet I thoroughly enjoy my own company too. So when I have all this alone time, and then when I see him, I'm so grateful that he's in my life, and this gratitude just keeps, like this gratitude wave just keeps expanding and expanding. And we have a really different, I'm going to say different setup, and it so works for me. And I think one thing everyone needs to look at in relationships done different is stop referencing everybody else and ask the question of what actually works for you.
You. Yes, I love that.
And I
Yeah.
love the one of the things in Access that they say that be grateful for your partner for being with you whenever that partner is there. So it is not that you have to be together constantly. You can
No.
be doing different things. You can be living in different cities, and you still have a beautiful relationship whenever you're together, and you get your alone time. You get everything. So that whole concept of sticking to each other needs to go.
But
Yeah.
I think this thing about not being needy, like having those 5 elements of loving
5 elements
yourself,
of intimacy.
And
of
Yeah.
intimacy, of
So
with yourself.
let me just mention what that is for the listeners. Is 5 elements of intimacy is gratitude, trust, allowance, vulnerability, and honor.
And
oh, no, yeah.
yes, so if I just feel that people are not aware of it also, Simone. So
Mm.
I mean, if we can bring this awareness to people when they're asking questions about relationships, and they have to have these 5 elements of intimacy with themselves first.
Yes.
And then only, like Adi said, about the me time. If
Mm.
I was not aware of all this, if I hadn't done a foundation, which for
Yeah.
me is the best class for anybody, because like Gary said, she breaks your foundation and gives you a fresh foundation to build your life the way you desire. It is so beautiful
Yeah.
because earlier, whatever we've done, whatever we have made, is according to this reality, whatever we knew best. I'm
Yeah.
not making it wrong. I'm not fighting it.
Yeah.
So if you
I
bring this awareness to people that you can create your, like if we had done this earlier, I would have, what would have come, not that I would have said that I would have felt that maybe I can't, I can't be of value to him. I'm not, like he doesn't enjoy my company so much that he needs his own time. If I
yeah.
didn't know,
So, yeah. And
So it
I
only
love that.
takes this, this in any relationship, for it to be a creationship, the elements of intimacy and valuing yourself. Simone, I never knew I could honor myself. For so many years, I was fortunate to have Adi who loved me and honored me, my in laws and my parents, my children. They've all always, honored me and loved me and respected me in a way from their heart.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know I could do that. I mean, I could honor myself. And I felt so incomplete when I saw this. I said, my God, me, the being in me and my body, I have never learned to honor it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that changed for me. And oh God, that's why I say I have so much of gratitude. I can never stop thanking that, showing us that this is a way to live. That's how I feel. I like to talk to people about access and the tools of access, and I just like to do it. Why? Because I feel they're not aware of it. We can't
Yeah.
blame them for a perfect relationship, but they don't have a relationship with themselves.
So for me, I love that Kiran mentioned the 5 elements of intimacy too, because for me, that's what relationships done different is having that yourself.
Sorry,
and
sorry for
and
this.
it's okay. And I know that there's a lot of people out there who come in and they want to go, oh, how can I make my husband do this, or find the perfect man or whatever. And there are so many tools in access consciousness that create more ease for you and your relationships, and like nothing I've ever seen before. And yet for me, if you are looking for somebody else to be grateful for you, but you're not grateful for yourself, then that's what you should look at. If you're looking for somebody else to be an allowance of you, but all you do is judge yourself, then maybe you want to look at that. Like, what if you could be an allowance of yourself and you stop judging you and your body? Having that 5 elements of intimacy, which I'll say them again, is gratitude, trust, allowance, vulnerability, and honor with yourself and your body. And as Kiran said, which I totally agree with her, is you need to have that with you before you can have that with somebody else. And I also just want to mention, you mentioned the foundation class. And so I know I have a lot of listeners who have done no access and some have done a lot. And one of the first classes you can do is bars class, which I highly recommend. And then foundation. And foundation, literally, I was the same. I remember my first foundation class, I got the manual and I went, this is addressing every single topic in the entirety of the world, and then just breaking it apart and showing me a different possibility, which I already knew. Like, I had this teenage girl in my class one day and she stood up and she said, Simone, you're not talking about anything I don't already know, but nobody talks about this. And I went, exactly. And the foundation just breaks everything of that apart. So I highly recommend checking out a foundation class too, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world.
Yes.
And people who are not into access, I'd like to mention to them that access doesn't give you a way of living your life. It gives you the option and empowers you to create your life the way you would like to have it.
Yeah.
And therefore, we've got thousands of people all over the world in access, and they all have a different reality. None of their reality is the same, which is the freedom that access gives you, which no one else gives you.
Beautifully put, RD. Beautifully put. So I could talk to you guys forever, and we are going to finish this podcast off soon. And I would like to ask you 2 questions. One is, what is the top tool that you would use that has kept your marriage, your relationship just blooming and becoming greater and greater over the 50 years? What's one tool that you both use? Either of you can go first.
From my side, it is, I think I'm in total allowance of her,
And no judgment.
and I don't judge her at all, and I'm willing to receive whatever she's doing. So she's got certain things which she enjoys doing, which I don't enjoy so much. But I feel so happy because when she's doing that, she's always got a smile on her face, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That like loving him.
So it's always lovely to give her the thing of doing what she wants to do, the way she would like to do it. So
Cool.
beautiful.
And for
Kiran?
me, also, it's allowance and no judgment. These are the tools. And certain things about access, like what's right about it. Anytime, if there's something that he does or says, which I am not very, like it kind of, that's not RD, that
Yeah,
sort of a thing. I always say what's right about it because I know that there is something which I am not looking at that he's
yeah.
saying that making me feel uncomfortable. So here I don't go into any wrongness. I may say it, but I know I am willing to receive whatever shows up from whatever
Hmm.
is not very light for me. Let me put it that way.
Hmm. So that tool is what's right about this I'm not getting. And you can use
That's
that
my
question too.
favorite.
Yeah.
My
What's right
favorite.
about this I'm not getting, or even what's right about me I'm not getting.
Me,
Like,
I'm not getting. Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
it's a great question to ask. So,
Yeah.
okay, the last question I have for both of you is there anything, because I love some of your stories, is there anything, any tool, any story that you have for the listeners out there that you would like to share?
Yeah.
You go first.
I love the way they both looked at each other. That was beautiful.
So, one thing I'd like to share is that, uh, and this I think is a universal thing.
Hmm.
Men don't like to talk too much, and they don't like to share too much, and they are more concerned about saying something that will hurt the other person.
Yeah.
Whereas women on the other side are more outspoken, they're more honest. And that is the thing I would like to say, that please try and be more honest. Women, as it is, I think, have this quality of having more honesty and being more straightforward than men. Men try to not tell something which they feel they may hurt the other person. That's what I have been doing for quite some time, not willingly, but it's just my nature. So I would like that should be not be there in your life. Try and speak out more.
Yeah. That's a really big topic too, RD. And maybe in the future, I'd love to do something with you on that. I started doing these interviews with some men, and it was just basically conversations with men, because I do see that a lot of things like that show up. I think women's lib movement was amazing. And yet I think we sort of went too far, and men
Mm.
don't really know how to be. And it's like the men that I have in my life, like the amazingly good friends, men that I have in my life, they are so giving and so gifting, and they have this energy of desiring for me to be happy, and that also looking after. And I love being looked after by men. I love gentlemen, and I like it when I'm looked after, etc. And I don't need it, but yet I'm so willing to receive it. And that there's such a beautiful energy in a man that is willing to be that. And I see the struggle in some men's worlds because they don't want somebody to be hurt or be affected by something. And it's like, how do we bridge that gap? How do we make it so that it's something greater and bigger? So that is something I would like to explore, in the future. So thank you for bringing that up, RD.
Thank you. Thank
Karen?
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I just like to say that, just if we could allow each other to be us, like he
Yeah.
allow them to be them, things can be very different. And a lot of things show up, Simone, in life, which are not very pleasant at times.
Hmm.
But here again, if you're not working from a need based togetherness,
Yeah.
it can change a lot. Like you said, never make yourself, less for the other person.
No.
So
It's-
when there is that partnership, there's that creationship together, when you value each other,
hmm.
I find that there's no reason why, uh, you know, y- I don't know how you can, uh, how things can go really wrong in a situation. If they're going wrong, if they're not working out, what's right about it?
Mm-hmm.
We want to
Yeah.
hang on to relationships even when they're not working out, Simone. And we just land up making each other wrong for it, and creating unpleasantness. Because like you said, so many people say, I want my husband to do this. What will it
Mm-hmm.
make? What can you do to so that he can do that for me. That is where that expectation, that is where everything goes for a 6. It doesn't mean that we don't have expectations. We do have expectations. However, you can't make the person wrong for it if the person's not made to do it that way. As long as there's respect, honoring, trust, any relationship can work.
And I also think there's a lot of elements there, which we would delve into in a relationships done different class too, is the manipulation aspect. And so many people have a judgment of manipulation, and yet it's something so different because you can play with things. Like I know that, I've done that. It's like you can, if you desire for someone, I don't know, clean the kitchen, empty the dishwasher or something like that, and instead of going, I wish you'd empty the dishwasher, it's like, what if it's like, hey, you know what, would you be open for emptying the dishwasher, for me, and maybe we can go have a shower together afterwards, something like that. Do you know what I mean? They're going to be like, that dishwasher is going to be empty in a second, And so you get to play and you get to have a different reality. But you are so correct. When you have those expectations and those needs of each other, you think it's going to create a closeness, but it doesn't. It creates a separation. Yeah.
Yes.
So there's so much to explore with this. And all I'm going to ask is that everybody listening to this, what if you could explore a relationship done different with yourself, with your body, with your partner now or in the future, if you choose to have one? It's not wrong if you don't either. There's you, as three of us have been mentioning here, you have to value you and have this amazing, wonderful relationship with you and your body in order to receive anything else as well. So what even if you just start with that? And I love, Kiran's favorite question too. What's right about this you're not getting? What's right about you you're not getting? It's like, what if you, sort of destroy and uncreate everything that you chose yesterday? Now what could you choose today? Like this is a glorious life, and let's live it. So I want to say thank you so much for being on here. You guys are phenomenal. We will have in the show notes details about where they can find you, etc. And I'm going to ask you, do you have any classes coming up soon?
We're having a foundation in Dubai in January, and a body class in Calcutta in January.
Wonderful. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so we'll have links to those as well on the show notes. So everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. You get those show notes, and you'll also get a notification every time I have a new podcast being released. And if you are interested in relationships done different class, like I said, I do have one in Abu Dhabi in December. It's just before Christmas. Come to Abu Dhabi. I'd love to have you there live, or you can also join that class online. And we do have relationship done different facilitators all over the world. So you can find one in your area, or one that, has that element of you go, yes, that class. Okay. Have a look, because there's always something greater. And as I love, RD, the way you mentioned that access consciousness tools are not about us all having the same reality, not at all. It's about you having your reality. So whatever it takes for you to have your reality, please start choosing that. So RD and Kiran, thank you so much for being here. I am so honored that you are here. So thank you.
It was a pleasure, Simone, talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite listening platform to get notified of new episodes. We read all the reviews, so if there's any topic you would like to hear about, let us know. If you'd like to know more about the tools, information, and classes mentioned in the podcast, head on over to SimoneMilasas.com. and follow me on Instagram at Simone Milasas, or the podcast has its very own link on Instagram at Choice, Change and Action. Don't forget, you can download the show notes. And lastly, have way too much fun today.